Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Indie Alaska is an innovative weekly web series capturing the diverse and colorful lifestyle of Alaskans. Real stories of everyday Alaskans at work and play. Supported in part by Alyeska Pipeline Service Company.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, everyone, and thanks for joining us for Sunday's edition of Alaska Weather. On the satellite, you can see a pretty active frontal system right through here, gradually moving eastward and northward. Again, a lot of mid and high level clouds out through this portion, but a band of moisture bringing rain right up into Prince William Sound, into the Whittier Portage area, and across portions of the interior. Really gets scattered out and quite variable as to where it gets rain or snow and where you don't, but it's mostly in the upslope areas. Also some pretty gusty winds in advance of the front, gusting as high as 70 miles an hour through Turnagain Arm earlier today, and gusty winds through the mountain passes of all of just about all the southeast interior right up to the Alaska Range. Delta seeing gusts up around 40 miles an hour this afternoon. Pretty brisk winds up the Copper River Valley as well, 30 to 35 miles per hour blowing in towards Gulkana from Copper Center, and some high clouds spreading in over the southeast coast. We're staying mostly sunny down here over the southern areas, allowing temperatures to push up into the mid-50s. Ketchikan seeing 56 degrees this afternoon. And then the rain lifting out of Kodiak earlier on. Looks like some clearing showing up there, kind of a break moving through, with this next system coming northward there into the Alaska Peninsula, bringing another round of gusty winds upwards of 40 miles an hour, say at Cold Bay, and then rain as well, and that extending back to the Dutch Harbor, Unalaska areas. It picked up about 1/4 of an inch in the last 24 hours. From this system in the last 24 hours, Kodiak had about 9/10 of an inch of rain and around a 1/2 inch over at Cold Bay, and that rain and snow extending up to the Pribilof Islands, about 2/10 of an inch falling there. And also some snow coming northward there, picked up 1 to 2 inches of snow along the Seward Peninsula up here. Nome carrying 7 inches on the ground now this afternoon. Lighter snow amounts getting up in toward Kotzebue and the northwest interior in those areas, but not much showing up on the north slope. Did get a little bit of light snow reported around the Cape Lisburne, Point Hope areas today. A breakout here over the Aleutians, and then another frontal system is being deflected mostly to the south as this colder air mass up here to the north and northwest drops into the area there. But this front will continue to gradually push eastward over the next couple of days and weaken considerably. Another area down here developing and moving northeastward. On the chart today, you can just see the northern edge of that, barely making it on the map there. High pressure holding over the Panhandle, keeping winds light, and just an increase in the higher clouds. And then the areas of rain and snow here with the front as it moved in, again, mostly in the upslope areas, west of Cook Inlet and then up the Susitna Valley. For example, Talkeetna picked up 0.13 of an inch of precipitation, and not much of anything up in the Tanana Valley, although there was probably some light snow showing up in maybe the White Mountainous areas, or the White Mountains there north of Fairbanks. And then this low coming northward here, really weakening and damping out as it comes across Bristol Bay. This one down here, the stronger one, almost passing right over Unalaska during the day today, and actually early today. This map drawn for 10 a.m. That will continue to move northward and bring some pretty gusty winds back in along the southwest coast tonight. As the front moves to about this position here, look for some areas of snow, light snow, along the coastal portions, progressing eastward a little bit there. The low tracking back to the north and northwest. This front up here really weakening. We'll keep a band of light snow along the Brooks Range with the more continuous, a little bit heavier amounts back to the west, but lifting out of the Seward Peninsula, so look for a break to move in there this evening and tonight. High pressure here over the Copper River Basin, so these winds are going to really drop off this evening and continue overnight, become quite light and variable with the just a remnant of that front lifting up to the northeast. Another portion here still off the coast, an area of rain from the North Gulf Coast down south, but most of that holding off to the west of the Panhandle there. And then that next front finally rotating up to the northeast here, bringing some more rain and gusty winds, probably small craft advisory level winds into the central Aleutians. And for tomorrow, looks like increasing chances of rain along the coast throughout the day, with the best chances this low swings up to the northeast. So the best chance of rain will be down here towards the Klawock, Heidelberg area, Prince of Wales Island, Ketchikan, Annette, and lesser chances up to the north or to the east. And then this moisture will be sliding northwestward here, so that'll begin to spread into probably southern and western Prince William Sound, bringing a chance of some light rain into the Whittier area, probably during the afternoon hours, just clouds though down towards Seward. And partly to mostly sunny day for the south central Alaska area, with mostly sunny conditions to the north into the Tanana Valley, eastward, variable clouds over the Copper River Basin. This low quite weak here, just some scattered snow showers over the Wrangell Mountains, and that's about it. And those amounts will be quite light. And trough with a little bit of moisture mostly on the eastern Arctic coast there, but the north slope looking pretty good, as well as the Arctic coast. And then this low again tracking just to the west of St. Lawrence Island, so that's going to bring that wind burst northward with it. Could see some gusts 40, possibly 50 miles an hour at the highest coming across the area there. Winds will be diminishing here over the Yukon Delta and tending to increase. Another band of snow will push up to the Seward Peninsula, especially on the south sides. Lingering flurries here on the western mountains. And then that front will bring more wind and rain into the Aleutians here. And again, kind of like today, back up toward the Pribilofs, so maybe a little bit of an increase in the winds there. Lots of snow showers coming eastward, where there'll be mostly rain and snow showers over the Adak-Atka area. And then on Tuesday, just some leftover moisture here, kind of an unsettled pattern up along the North Gulf Coast, as this low pressure area just east of Kodiak Island develops another front, but the breaks here probably not showing up until late Tuesday afternoon over the southern southeast coast as this other low pulls inland. And some scattered rain and snow showers here along the Coast Range or the Wrangell Mountains, as well as possibly over the Talkeetnas. More likely, though, right along the western Alaska Range. Otherwise, mostly sunny, partly to mostly sunny. For the Cook Inlet areas, just a slight chance of rain down towards Seward, up in to Cordova. Mostly sunny skies up there in the Tanana Valley, and also the North Slope. Just a narrow area of some isolated rain or snow showers scattered around the interior here, mostly over the mountainous terrain in the afternoon. And a pretty good trough in the upper air, probably bringing some snow showers to the western Arctic coastal areas, but it'll stay pretty good off to the east with VFR conditions. Could see that kick the winds up at the surface, maybe 20-25 miles an hour for a brief time. And then this weakening front washing out right along the coastline there for some periods of light rain or snow, but that'll be restricted mostly to areas right along the coast from Nunivak Island down toward Cape Newenham, maybe Togiak, King Salmon, and probably Dillingham as well. Won't see anything, just some variable clouds. Low pressure southwest of the Pribilofs, gusty west winds, 20 to 30, possibly 35 miles an hour, or small craft advisories here over the Aleutians. Rain showers, Alaska Peninsula, to Unalaska Nikulski, becoming mixed with rain, and then snow showers in the colder air out towards Shemya. And the highs today, or 4 o'clock temperatures, 52 at Klawock. Again, Ketchikan was up to 56. Otherwise, mid to upper 40s for the remainder of the southeast coast. Upper 30s to lower 40s for the North Gulf Coast, mid 40s here across south central Alaska. Palmer did push up to 50 degrees, 42 at Gulkana, 43 up at Talkeetna, and 45 to 50 here for the Tanana Valley areas, the eastern portions back toward Fairbanks, and then cooling off to the west, 51 over at Eagle, and mid-30s here for the Koyukuk, Yukon Valley areas, lower 20s there for the Brooks Range, Anaktuvuk, and at Arctic Village. And temperatures up above zero there for the Arctic coast, 12 Nuiqsut, and over at Kaktovik, Barrow at 6 degrees, edging just above freezing there at Cape Lisburne with a 34 at Kivlina, 35 at Deering, and 32 at Kotzebue. Ambler at 34 with a 48 at McGrath. They were up to 50. 39 over at Sparrowvon and a 38 down at Bethel. 36 degrees at St. Michael. And Tuksuk Bay, 34 degrees. That matched Savunga with 34 also. Shishmaref right at freezing. And for the Alaska Peninsula, mid-40s and lower to mid-40s here for the Central Aleutians. Cooler out at Shimia. For the lows tonight, looking some areas dropping back below zero up here in isolated areas up to the northeast and the north slope out to the Arctic coast. Otherwise, 0 to 10 above, teens up over the northwest, and 20s to lower 30s over much of the interior here to mid-30s to the southwest, upper 30s for the Alaska Peninsula, upper 20s to lower 30s here for the southeast interior, and mostly in the 30s for the Panhandle and the Aleutians. High temperatures tomorrow, up around or into the lower 50s here for the southeast coast. Again, looking at a general increase in the clouds there, and then the chance of rain mostly along the south coast in the afternoon. Upper 30s to mid 40s or better here over the southeast part of the state. 45 to 50 again, the Tanana Valley, with upper 20s to lower 30s for the Brooks Range. Again, coolest on the Arctic coast, looks like highs near or into the lower 20s. 30 to 40 over the northwest, and coolest out along the Bering Sea coastline. Otherwise, well into the 40s just inland, and mid 40s for the King Salmon, Bristol Bay zone. Same thing for the Alaska Peninsula. Look for a high of 38 there at St. Paul and St. George. Same thing for Shimia, lower 40s for the central areas. Flying weather, another band of IFR sweeping eastward here, and actually mostly shifting up to the north and northwest from the eastern Aleutians to the Pribilofs, and then pretty good area of VFR showing up here with some areas of marginal conditions inland, but IFR from the south coast of the Seward Peninsula back towards St. Lawrence Island, and some lower conditions up across Kotzebue Sound and mainly on the southern slopes of the western mountains there. But the north slope and Arctic coast looking pretty good. Barrow a little vulnerable to some marginal VFR. And then most of this marginal VFR remain off the coast with the IFR even farther off the coast and a lot more isolated, but some of this may slip on up at some point in the day tomorrow, especially along the south coast and again in the Prince of Wales Island location, and they'll be tending to slide northwestward right up to Montague Island and again possibly on up into the Whittier area. And there are areas of marginal VFR possible here over the southeast mountains. Anaktuvuk looks good. VFR either approach tomorrow. Same forecast for Adigan and for Lake Clark and Merrill. Good VFR tomorrow. VFR for rainy and windy as well. Eastward, Isabel, VFR, Mentasta, VFR, and Tanita, all VFR. Portage, though, VFR, but again, possibly becoming marginal on the eastern entrance with Chilkoot and White, VFR. Freezing levels showing still this spike in the freezing levels, 2,000 to 4,000 feet, not quite as impressive as it was yesterday. Shifting off to the east a little bit as the upper ridge breaks down. A little bit cooler air aloft, but at the surface here, still quite a ways inland there tonight or late tonight and early tomorrow. 2,000 feet, 2,000 to 3,000 feet over the Alaska Peninsula in the southeast Bering Sea up to about St. George Island. And from there, looking at the icing threats, just some scattered stuff here over the western interior, nothing very significant at all. A little bit more impressive area down here, tending to push into mostly the southern southeast coast, anywhere from 5,000 to 12,000 feet of the trace to rime trace amounts here over the southern areas, and that could extend back to the northwest. Upper level wind flow chart, there's the upper low associated with that system that will push in toward the southeast coast tomorrow. Otherwise, you can see the high is now retreated in over the Northwest Territories of Canada. Left behind just a light southerly flow across the state, and the main jet staying down to the south will be progressing sort of to the east-northeast over the next few days and toward the middle and latter part of the week. And that probably will bring another pretty good storm into the southern panhandle, say about Wednesday night or Thursday. For 9,000-foot winds, light and variable under high pressure over the southeast interior. Again, this system coming northward here, pretty good shot of wind. 45 knots up over the northern Bering Sea to the Seward Peninsula. Lighter winds Bristol Bay, a little windier there for the eastern Aleutians. Northerlies out over the western Aleutians. And the strongest winds here with this system to the south that's moving somewhere up to near the Queen Charlotte. So look for 35-knot winds across Dixon Entrance, but much lighter up over the northern areas. That light wind pattern will extend in over much of the eastern and south, or the central interior, right down to the Kenai Peninsula. East winds 30 knots there coming back into Kodiak Island. Southerlies at about 50 knots here for the eastern Aleutians. And 40-knot, 3,000-foot winds there sweeping northward, but those will be diminishing in the afternoon. So some turbulence of the moderate chop variety. 68,000 feet from Shishmaref, definitely Tin City, right down across St. Lawrence Island, some of that up to the Yukon Delta coast, and then another band here from the Pribilofs right down across the eastern Aleutians. Pretty smooth for Adak and Atka. Pretty smooth here for much of the interior from the North Gulf Coast right up to the Brooks Range areas, and a little choppier possibly here, but nothing too serious, or nothing certainly that'll hurt you down over the southern southeast coast. And after the break, I'll return with a look at the marine forecasts.
Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm Jim Peranto. Every year, Alaska is subjected to a river breakup season, which happens during the springtime. River breakup can lead to destructive ice jams, which threaten life and property along the Alaskan rivers. Here to educate us about this important season in Alaska is Larry Runquist, who is the Service Coordination Hydrologist at the Alaska Pacific River Forecast Center. Welcome to the studio, Larry.
Thank you, Jim.
We're going to talk about ice jams. Well, let's talk first about when they occur. When do they typically happen in Alaska?
Okay, breakup in Alaska, in the southern portions of Alaska, can start as early as late April, mid to late April. But the majority of the breakup season is through the month of May. It can extend into June up on the North Slope, but May is the biggest month for most of the activity.
And do they occur every year, or is this an every other year type of thing? Or?
Well, ice jams occur every year, but they can occur to varying degrees of severity and number of ice jams depending on the spring weather and the snowpack and the ice thickness characteristics for that year.
Why are they so dangerous?
Well, ice jams, basically when an ice jam forms and a significant ice jam forms, the water level upstream of the jam increases very rapidly. And if a village is upstream of where an ice jam forms, they can have flooding very quickly with little notice.
When we look at the bigger rivers in Alaska, like the Yukon River and the Kuskokwim River, talk about how they break up, because they're large rivers. And are they producing more of a significant ice jam potential, or is it just pretty much the same as a smaller river in Alaska?
Well, the larger rivers do have a greater potential for ice jams. Smaller rivers typically will not have as much ice, and they tend to the width of the channel restricts the severity of the issues. But on the large rivers, breakup process is kind of an upstream to downstream process, and as the ice moves downstream and comes up against the ice that hasn't moved yet, either that ice does start moving out and the ice run continues to move down river, or if the ice is too strong and doesn't want to go yet, that's when an ice jam can form.
And that's what you're monitoring at the River Forecast Center, right? That when the ice has stopped, and then all the other ice that's backing up on that, when is that going to release?
Right. We monitor it both through field observations, aerial observations with field crews, and just with contacting people and just getting a feel for where we are in the process of breakup. And so we're monitoring primarily that breakup front that we call it, which is that front edge of the moving ice run.
And you guys are pretty busy around springtime at the office.
The month of May is very busy because of the high potential for problems associated with ice jams.
And there's another program that I'm reminded of called River Watch, right?
Right.
Is that tied into this?
Right. The River Watch actually has two main components. One where the River Forecast Center staff team up with the State of Alaska emergency management folks, and we fly the breakup front together and monitor the conditions. We also have another River Watch program, since those teams are only in one spot on each river. We do ask pilots as well through a River Watch program to report what they're saying.
And how can people along the rivers prepare for ice jam flooding?
Well, they pretty much have to do the preparation before breakup, getting property up above high water marks, and just preparing themselves for the potential for flooding.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming in today, Larry, and talking to us about ice jam flooding.
Well, thanks for having me, Jim.
And thank you for joining us here on Alaska Weather Facts. Until next time.
Welcome back. Well, look for pretty light winds from basically a southeast or east-southeast direction here, the entire stretch of the coastline. Light variable winds over the inside waters. And then Tuesday, not much change here. Southeasterlies 10 to 15 with a 15 knots now down along the south coast. And light winds continue over the inner channels. Prince William Sound, light variable winds tomorrow. Same thing for Cook Inlet. East to 10 down toward Kamishak Bay. Light variable winds for Shelikof Strait with the east side of the island here, northeast 15. And possible 20-knot winds out of the east for the North Gulf Coast, otherwise less than that. For the Tuesday outlook, northeasterlies 10 knots or variable there for Shelikof Strait. A general easterly breeze here, 10 to 15 for the Kodiak Island area. Not much change along the North Gulf Coast, staying east 15 to possibly as high as 20 knots at times. And light variable winds, again, Prince William Sound, Cook Inlet area. For Bristol Bay, southeast at 10. Look for 20-knot winds here for the Alaska Peninsula. Easterlies at 20 knots there southwest of Kodiak Island. For the Tuesday forecast, small craft advisories now for the Alaska Peninsula, becoming southwest on the Pacific side, southeast on the Bering Sea side. And the winds about 20 knots here in Prince William Sound, tending up to 25 or even 30 knots when you get out toward this area, then down to 15 knots in toward the northeast. The Aleutians, small craft advisories here for the Fox Islands from the southeast, lighter easterlies, and then northwest 20 to 25 knots out in the western zone. And those will all come up to small craft advisory levels here from the northwest to westerlies across the Adak and Atka, southwest 25 to 30 knots there across the Fox Islands. And for the southwest coast, southerlies 10 to 20 knots here, lightest from Nunivak Island southward, but the Pribilofs about southeast 30 knots, southerlies at 20 knots to the northern Bering Sea. And again, those winds probably starting out, you could see some gale force winds coming across St. Lawrence Island early in the day, but then those will be diminishing as the system pulls northward, so coming down to 25 knots. And then dropping off even lower than that by this time tomorrow and tomorrow evening. For the outlook for Tuesday, southeast 15 up there, but coming back up, increasing to 30 knots there along the southwest coast. Small craft advisories for the Pribilofs as well as the northern Bering. For the Arctic coast, southwest 15 to 20 knots here on the east side. Light winds for the central coast, southwesterlies possibly as high as 20 knots here back around to Cape Lisburne and Point Hope, and then lighter southeasterlies on down to the Bering Strait. And then on Tuesday, really light winds developing over this area, but from about the western capes here and the western coast, you could see 20-knot winds at times, but lighter southerlies for the central coast, and really becoming light or variable here, 5 to 10 knots or even dead calm for the east side. For tonight, again, weakening front kind of splits apart here. One portion moves up to that position, another one edges its way eastward across the Gulf of Alaska. So that's going to keep conditions kind of unsettled and wet, mostly along the North Gulf Coast with some rain chances at times. Lingering flurries or areas of light snow this evening over the Alaska Range, but the winds, gusty winds coming down here this evening and continuing, becoming light and variable later tonight. And then this low pressure area lifting north and northwest again with the winds along the southwest coast tonight, pushing northward across St. Lawrence Island tomorrow morning, and then diminishing in the late afternoon. That's going to keep some moisture chances along another weakening front here over the southwest interior. High pressure up over the interior, looks dry with a fair amount of sunshine in some areas. More moisture will bring a chance of rain into Prince William Sound, mostly on the west side late tomorrow afternoon, but nothing too significant. Rain chances also increase, especially over the southern panhandle. And the Aleutian low pushing another front into the eastern Aleutians, which moves to about this position and really weakens as it reaches the southwest coast. Otherwise pretty fair with just some isolated showers.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.